screen, and look at the move. He's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front with the fifth all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter Walsh. All right, ladies and gents, we are back with Drive to Survive. Man, I'm loving watching this again. This is my third time watching season 2, and it's great, guys, because as we all know, the new season always comes out a week before the new year of the Grand Prix. So in other words, you'll have a week to go before the first Grand Prix of a year, and then they'll release the series from last season, which is great. And it's fantastic, guys. So if you've never watched it, I definitely would recommend it. And like I always say, I've said it so many times, this program is 85% accurate, I would put my money on. It's incredible how accurate it is. And a lot of people prefer Drive to Survive than the actual racing itself, even though people are still now hooked to Formula 1. But anyway, it's a great fucking, what would you call it, program. It's unreal, guys. And today we're on season 2, episode 8. And in this one, if I had to sum this all up in one, it shows desperation building in a team and what it's like. And today we're focusing on the Renault team. And we start off, and they're saying here that Renault haven't fought for a championship in over a decade. And believe you me, guys, if you've been around Formula 1, which they have for a decade, they've just been making up the numbers, that's a tough thing to do. Because these guys, they're good, Renault. They just hit a bad spot. Things haven't gone right for them for a while. And, well, they need to figure out what the fuck is going on because they've got the wrong engineers. They're dynamicists. They need to sort something out. So, again, we flash over to an intro to Cyril, the team boss. Now, we've seen Tyrrell, obviously, in Season 1 when he's had that huge bust-up with Christian Horner, right? And, guys, if you haven't seen it, or if you want to watch my take on the episode, or watch both, it'd be great. Watch it, because I think it's Season 1, Episode 3 or 4. It really starts to kick off the drama with Cyril at Renault and Christian at Red Bull. It's brilliant. So we see, and he's talking about Nico Hülkenberg. So as many of you probably know, Nico at this stage, he's racing with the Renault team here. And Cyril is mentioning that Nico has never had a podium, and it's just been that thing he's always had in Formula 1, and is it ever gonna come, right? Then we flash over to intro with Ricciardo, and of course Ricciardo, he's their number one golden boy here. There's no two ways about it, and you can see it. It's written all over his face. It really is. It's written all over his fucking face, man. I know what that feeling is like. He's jumping around, he's taking the piss out of people. And yet you can see here, right, even in the first couple of minutes here, you can see that there's the joking around. But if you've seen some of my other breakdown episodes on this, there's a couple of jabs thrown in here, right? He's kind of rubbing it in their face here. And even to Hülkenberg just taking some shit off people. He's taking shit off Cyril, the team owner, or the team boss. He's taking shit off Ricciardo. And everything is just designed for Ricciardo to be number one here. It really, truly is. So then, let me see, where I'm just checking out my notes, so bear with me now, guys. And then the commentator says, Ricciardo's making the team his own because he's number one. That couldn't be so fucking far off the truth. It's so fucking true. And then we see at one stage they're in Canada. So then in Canada, they're in 6th and 7th position. Okay? So, Ricciardo's in 6th. Hülkenberg is right behind in 7th. His teammates. So teammates are 6th and 7th. Now Hülkenberg is in 7th. He is faster than Ricciardo here. And then he's pushing. And then all of a sudden, the team come on board. And they now say to him, oh, listen, keep the engine cool. Keep the engine cool. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. And then we even hear Hulkenberg say, "That's bullshit." Quoting him here, "That's bullshit. Just tell me not to race, why don't you?" Quoting him again. And why is he saying that? Because he knows there's team orders in play here. Major team orders. So, I mean, it's not... I can understand his frustration, and... I mean, where do you go here? You know? Like, okay, let's look at it this way. You can totally understand to a degree here where the team come in, where you don't want your drivers taking each other out of the race, okay? Like some teammates do. They take each other out of the race. Now you can see from the driver's point of view, just stay where you were. Well, number one, I do agree with Nico Hulkenberg here because it's bullshit. Because one, Nico Hulkenberg is a fair driver. He's clean. Two, Ricciardo is a fair and clean driver. Okay? So, if anything, well, hey, buddy, why don't you just let your teammate's faster than you, let him through. Number three, if your teammate is faster, why not tell Daniel Ricciardo to pull over? Right? Why not? I mean, what if you do have the guy who's, and everybody knows, the guy who has never scored a podium, right? Maybe he's frustrated, maybe he wants to get one over and he'll do any kamikaze move. So you know what, why don't we play it a little safer, guys? Let's get on to the boys on the team radio, tell Nico that Daniel's going to let you overtake, and then tell Ricciardo, Daniel, let Hulkenberg overtake here. So then everybody knows the story, then there's definitely going to be no crap, right? Because it's team orders, job done. Right? Do you see where I'm coming from here? Now, if these two had a history of taking other people out and they were cheats and they were making complete kamikaze moves here, I would be completely siding with the Renault team here. But we're talking about 6th and 7th. 6th and 7th. Yeah, it's scoring points. It goes towards revenue. I get it to a degree. But you know something? Now, okay, you could argue, well, why bother take the risk? Just bring the points home. Well, they could have also told Ricciardo, hey, let him through, buddy. Let him through. Good spirit for the team. Keep the faster guy ahead. Right? Because people are going to know there's going to be a comeback on this, a ripple effect, a negative ripple effect. And then if they screw it all up, well then, okay, you haven't scored the points, but still, you've got him by the balls now. And it's only 6th and 7th. You know, if this was championship positions, if this was competing for a podium, a race win, way higher stakes, 100% would be siding with Renault. But right here, right now, no, definitely don't agree with the team on that one. And Nico Hulkenberg is right. It was bullshit. So here we go, and this is exactly why I went, and I nearly screamed at the camera when I heard this part. Daniel Ricciardo, after this race, goes over to Cyril. Cyril's sitting at a table of 4 outside their main motorhome awning area and in the pit lane. Ricciardo's finished the race. He goes over to Cyril. He just leans over the table and he goes, thank you. And Cyril's like, okay, thank you, okay. And he says in front of everybody, Netflix, pick up on this. Good job, Netflix. You know what? That tells me they were doing Ricciardo a fucking favor here. They were doing Ricciardo a favor. Why say thank you? You know? Seriously. And you don't say it, and now you could be saying, well, hang on, well, you know, he's just thanking him for the weekend, and, you know, listen, thanks for everything and the equipment, it was a great weekend. Well, hang on a second, buddy. No. That's total crap. Now, I get where people would think that, right? 100%. But really, actually, guys, what happens in this scenario? He'd be thanking all 4 people at that table. He'd be going, listen, guys, thank you very much. Now, he would direct it probably at Cyril more. Listen, Cyril, thank you very much. Shake his hand, and then he'd go to the other 3 guys at the table because, hey, they're all part of the team too, right? They're literally sitting there with their Renault shirts. They're at the team weekend. So guys, like there's people at these teams where there's people at, for instance, I know this guy who works in Mercedes. He's a Mercedes mechanic at Formula 1 team. He's part of the team, but he's not at the actual race weekend. He's at home and the factory on a live stream, keeping an eye on the car. I mean, the technology's, it's great, it's fantastic, it's amazing. But he's still part of the team. Okay? So, my point here is, if there's guys at the race weekend itself, even though the guy that I know who works in Mercedes is incredibly important to the team, but he's not even at the race weekend. So, what does that tell you? The guys that are at the race weekend, they've got a real insight or whatever input to that team. In other words, I suppose you could say it's like being in the first row of the cinema versus the third row in the cinema, right? You know what I mean? As in, they have a big importance to be there. That's why they're at the weekend. So every position in the team is valuable, whether you're at the track or you're not. But I would say being at the track is like being on the front row in cinema, right? Or even at the Oscars, let's say, okay, versus the third row back. The first row would be, you know, the superstars, okay? Third row, not so superstar-y. You get what I mean? So Ricciardo not thanking the other three guys at the table, why wouldn't you? You know? Why wouldn't you? So to me, that was a big, red flag, as in, I know what's going on here. So then we flash over to the private jet. So, I mean, there's a bit of piss take. Nico Hülkenberg asks the Netflix, so hey, why don't you ask Cyril what he thinks of his drivers, huh? And then Cyril just jokes, well, we're not a family shrink here. And, you know, I gotta admit, Cyril, he's being upfront, blunt and honest, right? To a degree, he's not stating officially that Ricciardo is number one in the team. But he's saying everything but. Right? So, does he have a heart in terms of he doesn't want to mention it? Well, no, but he can't. It's not that. He can't mention that. He can't say that like, well, Ricciardo's number one and you're number two. You know, he doesn't want to say that. He doesn't want to look like he has a favorite. You know, and you can see Hülkenberg's face. It kind of drops every now and again. Now, maybe that was Netflix kind of panning different scenes together, right? And then putting that scene over onto this scene, and then it looks like Hülkenberg's getting wound up. Maybe. But even though Cyril says we're not sure if we're going to let them race at certain weekends, and then Alain Prost comes in. Of course, look guys, Alain Prost, he's one of the legends of all time, but he's a sneaky so-and-so, this fella, a sneaky motherfucker. And even Prost comes on and he says, oh, well, we don't have a number one, number two. Yeah, whatever. I'm throwing off my notes off my table. That's total and utter horse shit anyway. I wouldn't believe a word Alain Prost says. Believe me. And then we flash over to Ricciardo and Hülkenberg chatting, right? And Ricciardo's gone on with his Hülkenberg, all this, okay? Even though I know I do it as well. I think that, do you know what, actually, I just realised, I think that's where I got it from. But now, look, I'm only arsing around here. But Ricciardo now, he's messing around, man. And it's not good the way he is, because Ricciardo knows he's number one. He fucking knows, okay? Like, you don't just sign up to a team and you just happen to be the number one. There's talks of you being the number one guy in a team before you sign up. There's talks of this. Now, depending on the team, but it was just the way Ricciardo, you know, at this stage, he knows he's number one. He's taken the piss out of him, and he said, well, what's your best achievement, Nico? Was it Formula 2? Because Formula 2 was very good for Hülkenberg. And then Ricciardo kind of goes, oh, was it? And then Hülkenberg says, sorry, I'm getting all flustered here, guys. Hülkenberg says, oh, well, I didn't have much here in Formula 1. And then Ricciardo goes, yeah. You know, and then Hülkenberg goes, oh yeah, dickhead. And then Ricciardo puts off the laugh, like, oh, yeah, whatever. I'm doing a bad job of explaining it right here, guys, but just a total dick. Ricardo is a total dick. He seemed to be a nice guy. I've said it even in my other episodes here, right? Up to now, he seems like a nice, cool guy. I don't trust that smile. I've even said that in that episode. No one's this happy. You know what I mean? Like, guys, people say that I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. I don't go around with a massive smile on my face 24/7 like this guy does. You know, I don't know. I don't know, man. You know, Jesus. Anyway, guys, it's horrendous. It's horrendous. So I think, yeah, Ricardo is full of crap, or it's got to his head now. I'm number one, I'm fucking brilliant, I'm amazing. And that happens. That does happen. He wasn't being humble, I'll put it that way. And that's why Nico Hulkenberg said in a, passive-aggressive way, "Oh, fuck you, asshole," or whatever he said. Right, then Ricardo laughs it off like, "Oh, I know, it's a big joke, isn't it?" No, it wasn't actually a joke, you jerk off. You're actually you're having a go off the guy. Literally having a go off him. And not just that, they're being interviewed by someone else. So, no. And then we flash over to Magny Core, guys. And then we're going to look at the race. And then Hulkenberg says, Ricardo doesn't play games. And I went, hang on a second, what? And I said, bullshit, it's written all over his face. And you can see it in this. You can literally see it. It's written all over his face. He doesn't believe what he's saying. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jesus. Weird, man. And then we see then Ricardo in the race. And of course it's their home track. It's a French track at Magny-Cours. And French track, French team, they want to have a great result. Of course they do, right? Totally understandable. And then Ricardo messes it all up, goes over the blue line. And not just that, guys. Wait until you see it. He goes over the blue line 100% on purpose. Right? Like, if you got sort of nudged, okay? In other words, like, let's say, guys, he's gone onto the straight. Then on the edge of the track, there's a blue area, let's say, okay? That's the, you do not go into this area. Okay? You don't go into this area. It's off track. Ricardo, if he was going in for the inside line here, he'd go up, take a slipstream, go up to the inside, and then try and take a pass on somebody on the straight, right? Okay. But he blatantly, purposely goes straight over into the blue box, completely over the white line. I was like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? It was so blatantly obvious what he was doing, on purpose. And he messes it all up and he gets a 5-place grid penalty. And of course, no one's bitching about that one. That really, again, that's another highlight now, another interesting point of, oh really? Huh. He blatantly does it. Knows exactly what he's doing, 100% conscious, and yet no one says a word? Wow, man. So then we flash over to Hockenheim. And then they're talking about Esteban Ocon losing his seat. Right, he's out of his seat now. And we're going to come back to that in a moment. But just remember that. So then we flash over to Ocon and Toto Wolff in the car. Now, why is Ocon sitting in the car? We're going to come back to that in a second. So Toto calls anyway Cyril, the Renault boss, asking for a dinner. Now, Ocon is sitting in the car with him as he makes this phone call. Now, picture this, guys. Ocon's not even in the Mercedes or Renault team. He's sitting in a car with the Mercedes team boss, Toto Wolff. And Ocon is staring over at him. And Toto says, hey, let's go for dinner tonight, Cyril, yeah? Sounds good? Yeah, great, whatever. And he says, Esteban can't hear any of this. Kind of joking around. So, why is the Mercedes team boss making phone calls for a guy that's in the Alpine team here? Why? Because he's Ocon's manager. That's right. He's Esteban Ocon's manager here. And his manager, who works at the Mercedes team as the boss, is making calls for a guy in the Alpine team. He's making calls to the Renault team to sort him out with a seat. Now, okay. Let's see what happens here in a few moments. So then we flash to Hockenheim, Germany. Now, this is where it was unbelievably wet. Wet race. Everyone's going off the track. Right? And in fact, we even did that, and I think it was at Season 2, Episode 4, where Hamilton completely messes it all up and he wants to quit. And we covered that in Season 4. I think it was, Episode 4, Season 2. And, I mean, it was horrendous conditions, guys, because I've driven in these conditions, right? The tracks are so long that one part of the track can be soaking wet. And when I mean soaking wet, it could be fucking monsoon, you need wet tires. But then the other complete opposite end of the track can be bone dry. And just whatever happened, the weather didn't hit the full track. It just got that certain part of the track. So very, very tough conditions. Hamilton, the 5-time world champion at this stage, goes off the track twice. Verstappen, who's in the lead, goes off as well. Numerous drivers go off the track. So, what we mean here is Hülkenberg is second. Now, Hülkenberg is second. This is his chance to get his first ever podium in Formula 1. Right? Sounds amazing, right? It's brilliant. Here we go. Let's get stuck in, guys. Let's do this. So Cyril turns around. Of course, not happy. And why? Because Hülkenberg's in second and he goes off. Now, I did cover this in a previous episode that people were saying, oh, he buckled under the pressure. He didn't buckle under the pressure, guys. I honestly, genuinely believe this. I don't have my Nico Hülkenberg baseball cap fan baseball cap here. I don't have my Nico Hülkenberg t-shirt on. I'm not a fan of Hülkenberg. But I'm standing up for him here. I'm being fair. I'm standing up for the guy. And why? Simply because I don't think it was a scenario where it was huge, huge pressure. Because if that was a huge pressure scenario, well, lads, your fucking standards have seriously dropped here. What the hell? Really? There's massive pressure for you to finish second or third? Like your life depends on it? So, okay, you could say, well, if that's the case, Peter, well, maybe it was, right? And he just didn't, he didn't rise to the occasion. Okay. I can accept that. All right. But I just don't think it was. This wasn't. Real pressure is trying to win races. And the real pressure is trying to win the championship. When it's really down to the wire, last round, last race, you've got to finish ahead of this guy in front or behind or whatever it is. You got to get more points than him. And you have to, no matter what circumstance, you have to win at all costs or finish ahead of this guy to win the championship. It's either everything or nothing. Hülkenberg wasn't in this situation. Okay? He wasn't. Now, you could also say as well, where was Daniel Ricciardo? Where was he? Right? Why wasn't he in second? Why wasn't he in second or third or trying to overtake? He was nowhere. Now, what happens to Hülkenberg? Hülkenberg goes a little wide at that dangerous corner, and that's where it did even catch out Hamilton once, and then it caught out a couple of other drivers too. So, yes, it caught out other drivers as well. And that's as well why I'd say, well, look, Jesus, like if everybody got through that corner safe and sound, no matter how bad the conditions were, guys, and no one went off there, then I'd be saying, oh, shit, okay. Now I'd start to believe it more that he buckled under the pressure. But it wasn't the case. There was multiple people going wide at that corner, managing to just keep it hanging on, or not. So that's why I'd say, well, it caught everybody else out. You know? Now, of course, what happens next? We see Cyril, he's devastated, upset. And look, I get it, I understand. Jesus. I 100% understand for the team why they're upset. And, of course, for Nico Hülkenberg, God love the fella. I feel sorry for the guy. And Cyril's thinking, oh my God, is it a curse? Is it this? Is it that? Oh my God, he's not happy. They threw it all away. And Then all of a sudden we see Cyril turn around and he signs Esteban Ocon for next year. Now, Ricciardo's on a 2-year contract, so he's good. He's got another year minimum left in the team. But Hülkenberg is coming up to the wire, and what do? They decide to bring in Ocon. And that's why we had Toto Wolff in the car with a driver from a different team of his in an Alpine Formula 1 in the same car with him, making a phone call to a third different team here, Renault, because Toto is the manager. Nico Hülkenberg didn't lose that seat because what he did at Germany. Toto Wolff won the seat for Ocon because Toto Wolff is the manager, and Toto Wolff is a fucking great businessman. This really is, guys. This really is what it comes down to, and we're going to close it off here. This is the politics of Formula 1. You know, I genuinely believe that. I mean, you can look at, let's look at Ricciardo at Red Bull, right? Ricciardo had a nightmare, as we've covered already in my breakdown of Drive to Survive. Ricciardo won a couple of races. He even won the Monaco Grand Prix when Verstappen was their number one, and he screwed it all up, and Ricciardo went on to win the race. Wouldn't that be good enough to sign again? You know, wouldn't that be good enough to keep him up at the game? Now, of course, it was Ricciardo's decision, but Ricciardo only left because he knew he wasn't getting the same attention as Verstappen was getting and is going to get in the future. Simple as that. Simple as that. Politics. And guys, look, I'm not here to obviously, bitch and moan about racing. No, of course, you know me. And it might sound like I am, especially if you've heard me for the first time, okay? This isn't me, because you know me, guys. I love talking about this stuff, right? I was a motor racer for 13 years professionally. Love the sport. But it's like any other sport. There's an ugly fucking side, and there's a beautiful fucking side. You know? It's the Jedis and the dark side here. You know what I mean? And Toto Wolff won the day for Ocon, and he got Hülkenberg out of that seat. And of course the problem is, this is the last thing before we leave, guys, Nico Hülkenberg doesn't have a manager. Now that to me is fucking suicide. Genuinely, that is suicide. To be in Formula 1 without a manager. You might as well be jumping out of a plane without a parachute, hoping that if you land in the water, you'll be okay, but if you go nosedive or head first in. So, politics, guys, but hey, look, this is what we love about the sport too, and of course, it makes for great watching, in fairness, doesn't it, guys? Ugh, you gotta love it too. You gotta love it, especially for us, because we're sitting on the sidelines these days. But, I can say, guys, it's very, very tough for a driver to go through that sort of thing, and we've all been there. You can see Ricciardo was there at Red Bull. He was the number 2. Now he's number 1. I was the number 1 at certain teams. Then I was the number 2. Everybody's been there at some stage in their life. So it's just the way it is. So, guys, we will be back, of course, with more Drive to Survive. So the next one we'll be going to is Season 2, Episode 9. But again, I just want to remind you the timetable, guys. The timetable, if you've just joined in for the first time listening to Formula 1. So I have a podcast every day, Monday to Friday, 5 podcasts a week. Every Monday and every Friday, we discuss Formula 1, whether it's number 1 priority is the 2024 championship preview on the Friday of a Grand Prix. And then on the Monday after the Grand Prix, we do the highlights. If there's no Grand Prix, then we go through Netflix breakdown. And of course, we're up to Season 2, Episode 8 now. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move. He's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front with the 5th all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter. Walsh.